Please welcome to the stage, Santiago Pontiroli.
Hello, BlueHat, how are you? Still alive after lunch? Okay, perfect. So, let me begin with a story. This is not the match from yesterday, from the Seattle Sounders. This is something different. Do you know who that man is? Diego Maradona, that's correct. So, the year is 1986. We were playing, Argentina was playing against England for the World Cup quarterfinals. And we were 1-1, and Diego Maradona scored this goal. We won that match, 2-1. But the difference, or the important thing here, is that he scored the goal with his hand, and no one even noticed at the time. Afterwards, some journalists came to ask him, Diego Maradona is like this high. There is no way he could have jumped that high. And they asked him, Diego, how did you manage to score that goal? And he told them, half of the goal was Diego Maradona, and the other half was the hand of God. 10 years later, they did the same interview in Milan, where Diego was playing at the time, and they asked him, Diego, did you cheat? And he said, yeah, I cheated. I scored the goal with my hand. So this is one of the most clear examples about cheating, and since I'm Argentinian, I can see this every day. I'm not proud of it. We won, but it's not something I tell people. But we are here to talk about video games. So you might wonder, have I gone crazy? Well, maybe, but there are other types of cheater. For example, this man here, I don't know if you know him. His name is Todd Rogers. He holds the most amount of Guinness records for playing video games. For example, that game that he has in his hand is called Dragster. It's an old video game from the 80s. And he did the fastest lap in, I'm going to use round number, 5 seconds. Then someone, a reverse engineer, of course, reversed the code of the game and told the Guinness people, the fastest lap you can do in this game is 6 seconds. How did he manage to do it in 5? And then people started poking into other records he holds. So, for example, he had the highest record for another game where you could only score in even numbers, and he had an odd number record. Of course, then Activision came to the rescue and said, yeah, we developed the game. There is no way he could have done this. So he lost every Guinness record he had. And that was one of the first cases of, professional cheating. The cake is a lie. Some of you might know this phrase. I hope by the end of this presentation you know what I'm talking about. And if not, I will be in the speaker's booth, speaker's corner later. My name is Santiago Pontiroli. I'm part of the Global Research Analysis team with Kaspersky Lab. And I felt this need to speak about video games and cheating because I think there is a black hole in the industry. It's not something that you see being spoke about in gaming conferences. It's not something that we speak about in information security conferences. Nevertheless, this is a huge industry and a huge problem for the gaming industry as well. So I thought, okay, maybe I could do something about it. And when I tell people about video games, I always use this phrase, and I don't know if you can read it way back, so I'm going to read it to you. If Pac-Man had affected us as kids, we'd all be running around in dark rooms, munching pills, and listening to repetitive electronic music. This phrase was quoted before to the former CEO of Nintendo. Then a British comedian said, hey, that's my phrase. That's not from Nintendo. But the thing is, video games have influenced us much more than we would like to acknowledge. For example, the image that you have in the background is a tournament for League of Legends that, let's say, it had over 100 million viewers. And to put that into context, the last Super Bowl had 98 million viewers. So it had more viewers than the Super Bowl, and it had twice as much viewers than the US inauguration speech. I'm not going to name names, I'm not going to say anything about that. So, but what are the statistics for the video game industry? For example, many people think that video games are something that kids play, that teenagers play, that they ask for money to their parents and they get the games, they get the DLCs or microtransactions. In reality, people that play video games are, on average, 33 years old. It's pretty much divided equally between female and male. In US, in America, 65% of every person, of every people in America play video games. And 30% of them pay a monthly subscription fee, that is to play online, maybe to have access to the game, to have access to other items. They pay after the game, they pay something else. So please remember this number. And what happens when we compare the gaming industry to other industries? So, for example, let's say Hollywood, the music industry, television. These numbers are for 2017. For example, the video gaming or the video game industry had a revenue of $117 billion, that's billion dollars. And for 2018, it was around 130, and this year it will be 160. So you can see that it's bigger than Hollywood, bigger than the music industry, and not many people are paying attention to it. We just think about video games as something like, yeah, it's there, but I don't care much about it. So we're at BlueHat. This is a Microsoft conference. If I would tell you, let's say, Red Dead Redemption 2, I don't know how many of you have played it. I played it. I waited for the installation of 120 gigabytes, and I played the game. If I would tell you between this game and Avengers: Infinity War, which one do you think had the biggest revenue? Yes, the video game. In the first 3 days after being launched, this game totaled 725 million USD. And we're comparing to a AAA movie, Hollywood blockbuster movie. So you can see the magnitude of the industry. But we are here to speak about cheating. In the year 1996, and this is no coincidence with Diego Maradona, a Konami developer was porting a video game to the Nintendo Entertainment System, and he got tired, about testing, restarting the game, testing again. So he said, I'm going to include a code that is going to allow me to get 99 lives, and I'm going to play as much as I want without having to restart the game. And he did this sequence of arrows, of keys, and then buttons. And with that, he was able to play the game, debug it, test it, port it. And if you want to see the extent of how video games and this cheating issue has been present in our lives, we can see a very clear example. I love this video. Maybe you can agree with me.
All right, come on. If Mission Control thought we could help get the shuttle out of orbit, it can't be that hard.
Okay, try this. Hit up, up, down, down, left, right, B, A, start. Then we'll have unlimited lives.
Come on, we're running out of time!
So, if I would ask my parents to, what did you see there? He wouldn't have any idea of what does it mean. But as you can see, video games and cheating have been part of our lives. And what do I mean when I say that this is becoming a huge issue, that this is becoming an industry? For example, I don't know if you remember World of Warcraft. At the time, in the year 2013, it had over 12 million players playing online. So someone decided to create a cheat. It was a simple script. It was called WoW Lider. And he was selling this cheat for 25 USD. But he sold 100,000 of these pieces of software. So you can see $2.5 million just with a single cheat. And this was the year 2013. As the years have gone by, the problem is every day worse and worse. And it has become an illegal activity. It's not something that is frowned upon. When you buy a video game, or actually you license a video game, you sign an end-user license agreement that says you cannot modify the game, you cannot reverse engineer it, but there are people doing these cheats. Of course, this man got sued by Blizzard Entertainment, and he lost $6 million in the lawsuit, so it wasn't such a good enterprise after all. Then we had other video games, such as this one. This is called APB Reloaded. APB Reloaded uses a different approach. They said, we cannot fight against cheaters, so we're going to offer a cheater amnesty. So they posted a blog post, they posted an open memorandum, and they said, if you're using cheats and you're paying between $15 to $30 per month just to cheat in our video games, please stop now before we ban your account and you will lose much money. I don't know if you ever cheated, if you've downloaded cheat before, but it's, for me, very interesting to see how these websites look. For example, this is just one of the many, many cheat websites available where you can buy software hacks, modifications for different games, and you can pay a subscription model. So let's say that you buy a AAA game for $59.99, you can buy the cheat for $64. To me, that's a little crazy. But there are cheats, for example, that can be used in esports. So the guy that develops the cheat guarantees you that it won't be detected, that you can use it to get money from, you can use it online, it will be private only to you. So this is cheating as a service. For example, in video games known as FPS or first-person shooters, you can have something called ESP. That means extrasensory perception. That means that you become something of a god. So you can see behind walls. You can, for example, you can shoot straight ahead and the bullet will go behind you. You can, for example, teleport yourself to other locations. You can do a bunch of things that the developers of these games didn't think it was possible. But the thing is that when you design, when you program a video game, you need to put a lot of trust in the client. And this is because you need a network architecture that will have the least amount of lag. So people want to play games, but they want the games to be fast. And if you want the games to be fast, you only need the least amount of information possible to the server. So there are some games like Dota 2 right now that have shifted their code like 90% to the server. But this means that the game runs a little slower. But what about consoles, you might ask? Well, people have found a way around that too. And I'm very eager about listening to the next presentation about Xbox. But for example, they haven't hacked the Xbox, but they are doing these things. For example, they get an Arduino box, or they can buy a USB dongle. You can load the scripts, and you can, for example, use the scripts to auto-fire, to auto-aim, for different things. You can download these scripts freely, and you don't need to modify your console. You just modify how your input is going to your console. By the way, this is from Brazil. This is a Brazilian website such as eBay, Mercado Libre. Anything that you want to buy illegally is in Mercado Libre. So. Then there is the other side of the coin, anti-cheating solutions. For example, Valve Software has their own anti-cheating solution. And the thing is, to protect the users, you need to know what is happening in their environments, in their systems. So some people started wondering, hey, what about privacy? You're looking at my memory, my processes, you're looking at my programs, you're looking at my keystrokes. What is happening with that? So Valve Software said, we are not interested in looking at your porn surfing habits. We are just interested in looking that you don't have any cheats installed. But then other video games started implementing these anti-cheating solutions, and the EFF said, like, yeah, this is all nice and dandy, but what about privacy? So this is an issue that we are having over and over again, because, as I mentioned, I'm part of the research team of Kaspersky, and antivirus always had this issue, like, hey, you're looking at my connections. Yeah, but if I want to protect you from malware, I need to see what you're doing. Of course, there is a fine line between protecting and going above and beyond, but this thing is very serious. So what's the consequence of cheating? That means people not playing the games anymore. Video games depend on one thing, and like social media or any form of entertainment, it depends on the rewards that you get. There are people engineering, there are people doing studies, how often you should get a reward so that they can keep you hooked up. You keep playing the game. But if someone is cheating, you stop having fun. You stop getting that reward. You stop paying the subscription. You stop playing the game. And that is why some games have become so toxic online that people simply stop playing. And this is costing publishers and developers a lot of money. What is the solution? Right now, they are using a lot of interesting ways to ban cheaters. They are using a technique that is called delayed ban. So they don't ban you right away in order not to give any information about the cheats they are detecting. But for example, for Counter-Strike Global Offensive, which is quite an old game, they are banning between, let's say, 900 and 1 million players every 3 months. So that's a lot of people. But also new games, such as PUBG, are banning like 13 million players. And what is happening in Korea? But I mean the other Korea. So like esports is right now a big thing in South Korea. There are esport tournaments that are played for millions of dollars. For example, the latest Dota 2 tournament had a price of $30 million. So if you want to play video games, now is the time. If you have kids, encourage them. But game hacks are illegal in South Korea. And even in China, right now, the other day I saw a news piece that was saying that they caught some people developing cheats, and they are now being prosecuted, and they might likely go to jail just for developing cheats. But on the other side, in South Korea, it's fine to cheat on your wife or your husband. Using software, not so much. So that's how crazy we are right now. But in the title of this presentation, I mentioned malware-like cheats. What do I mean with that? So cheats use the very same techniques that we see when we analyze malware. They are packed, they are protected, they use commercial protector solutions such as BM-Protect, the MIDA, they use code obfuscation, but more than that, some cheats are using exploits to get kernel access. Some are using rootkit behavior to hide from the anti-cheating solutions. And of course, when you download these cheats, in the website, it tells you, please disable your antivirus solution. So people are risking their personal information, they're risking maybe their work information just to play and win a video game. So why am I speaking about this here? Well, I think this is a growing illegal economy. The numbers are showing that this is not someone selling a cheat for a couple of $100. This is a multi-million-dollar industry. And as security professionals, we are more than equipped to deal with this. The thing is that it overlaps with the gaming industry. And I think it's very difficult to go to a gaming industry and talk about reverse engineering, or someone from the gaming industry come here and talk about video games. So I'm trying to bridge that gap. This is an emerging research area. I've seen some papers already published. I have a paper that will be published next week, so it's not about only Diego Maradona and some nice pictures. I hope that if you like the topic, you will be able to read it. And then there is malware, because there are some cheats that are being disguised as, hacks, modifications, whatever, but are malware. There are others that are using malware techniques. For example, I saw a forum that it was using a Torla injection technique just to get access to injecting the code and using the cheat without being detected. So that's how far we've come. Cheat codes in the past were just the Konami code. Right now, it's a business, and we can do something about it. So the cake is a lie. If you don't remember what this is about, you need to play the game Portal 2. I don't know how many of you have played it before, but this is this is a very difficult game. And at a certain point, you get the promise that if you do every puzzle, if you complete every challenge, at the end of the game, there will be a cake. What happens when you finish the game? There is no cake. And you only get a graffiti that says, "The cake is a lie," the end. So I hope you are not getting that feeling from this presentation. Looking forward to your feedback. Thank you so much.